What's up everybody, it's me, your favorite little boy in the whole wide world, Ren with 2 N's. And as many longtime fans of my channel know, I absolutely loved the first Destiny. I spent well over 2,000 hours in that game, and I didn't regret a single second of it. But then Destiny 2 came around, and was missing practically everything that made the first game so special. Everything about it just felt so wrong. It was like going back to a fast food restaurant that you used to love, only to discover that overnight, that restaurant took all of your favorite items off of the menu.
Could I just have a cup of olives and like a plate of hummus?
We don't have olives.
You don't have olives?
No.
I'll just have the hummus to go.
You don't have that either.
Now typically with these Destiny videos, I talk about the good stuff first, in order to get it out of the way, since there usually isn't much good stuff to talk about. But this time, the good actually heavily outweighs the bad. So we're gonna cover the bad stuff first, which as usual, is the story. Now, the story of a Destiny DLC is incredibly important. It's typically the very first thing players experience when they boot up the game. It's also mainly what the marketing team uses to hype the game up and get people talking. And it's what you're forced to play through if you want to get to the end game, which is where Destiny truly shines. But despite all of that, every storyline is so poorly handled, and Forsaken is no exception. And while it's certainly not anywhere nearly as bad as something like Curse of Osiris, it's still filled with missed opportunity, terrible writing, and it's overall just not very good. Apart from the very first mission, which I actually thought was pretty fun, you essentially get to hang out with your boy Cayde 6 throughout the entire level, and that's great. Moments like these are very fun to experience. I think if we were able to hang out with these characters during gameplay much more often, that we'd have something truly special on our hands. But that's besides the point, because Cayde is dead, and I'm upset about it. Now don't get me wrong, I'm glad that Bungie has decided to kill off a major character. I think that's a great choice, because it gives the characters of the Destiny universe legitimate stakes from here on out, which is pivotal for storytelling. The problem I have is that the way he died was stupid and just not very well thought out. It was dumb as hell. So let's break down his death in the hackiest way possible, with special guest Susan from Fiverr.com. Take it away, Susie!
This isn't a prison riot. It's a prison break.
The airlock on Deck 0. It's the only way out this far down. They're going to escape.
Why doesn't Cayde 6 just jump down to the bottom of the pit and activate his double jump before he hits the ground? I'm as deathly afraid of having a tumble as anyone else, but climbing on top of this thing and shooting at it to ride it down is just wasting precious time. Sure, this fight scene is cool and all, but why isn't Cayde's health regenerating? At my age, I'd give anything to have regenerative abilities. You can't tackle a Guardian out of a super. I know that because I push through the arthritis and play Destiny all the time. Cayde 6 is a lot like my friend Catherine 1, because it appears that he's also had a stroke. Why else would he pull his ghost out in the middle of a fight for no good reason? What could his ghost have possibly accomplished anyway? This makes absolutely no sense. I can't watch this anymore, Ren. My glaucoma is acting up.
Welcome to Prison of the Elders.
So instead of having Cayde make a litany of mistakes in order to die, the scene should have played out a little bit differently, right? Like maybe have all 8 Barons gang up on Cayde all at once, and Cayde puts up his best fight but understandably gets overpowered by them. Eventually they win the fight and then they hold Cayde down against his will. Like in those videos Mommy says I'm not allowed to watch. Then they force his ghost out of his hand, grab it, and smash it while they force Cayde to watch. Then Uldren saunters in to finish the job with a headshot from the Ace of Spades so that he can activate Memento Mori. Now the scene doesn't have to play out exactly like that, but a scenario where Cayde did everything correctly, to the best of his abilities, and still wound up dying, I think something like that would make me feel a lot more sympathetic towards Cayde. But as it stands now, because of all the stupid, nonsensical decisions he made within the span of 5 minutes, he just comes off as an idiot. And as a result, it's tough to stay invested in him as a character. But on top of everything else, Cade's death would have been so much more impactful if I didn't see it coming. But they spoiled it in all the trailers.
Is he really dead?
He looks dead.
He
Does
looks
not
dead.
look good.
Exactly.
He's dead.
Okay.
He is dead.
He's dead. Wow.
He is dead.
And I'm not just saying all this because I'm upset. As many of you know, back in July, I made a video with the Act Man where I made the prediction that Cade 6 would come back to life within this DLC. I'm calling it right here. We're bringing him back. I feel so strongly about this. And so far, he's still pretty dead. He's currently still up in heaven with my Nana. And at the end of that video, I did say that if Cade doesn't come back to life in this DLC, that I would enact a punishment of your choosing in this very review, which I will do, but I'm gonna put that at the tail end of this video so that it doesn't mess with the pacing of this review. So stay tuned for that. But getting back on topic, after Cade dies, Ikora wants to get revenge and hunt Uldren down, but Zavala thinks that they can't spare their resources to do that. He says we should ignore him and just let him be. And what an interesting conflict this could have been. Bungie could have used this as a great opportunity to explore these two characters. It would have given these two something to talk about for once. I mean, think about it. How often do we get to see these two disagree? Never. But all of that potential is brushed under the rug when your Guardian says that he's gonna do the entire DLC by himself.
Uldren Sov is mine.
And by the way, thank God our Guardian is speaking again. He only has about 9 lines, but still, was it that hard? The rest of the campaign is pretty bland. Early on, you're forced to complete patrols, public events, and other busy work to progress through the story. It's insufferable, and can I just say, I don't think I've ever had fun doing a patrol or public event. Can we do something else with that? Can we move on? Those need to be amped up, I think. And then after you do all that stuff, you're forced to kill all 6 of the Barons. They're all locked behind 6 separate adventures, but each Baron fight is so boring, so unexciting, and just so easy. I had almost no issue killing all 6 of these guys with nothing but a pair of chopsticks over on my Twitch stream, as suggested by Nerf999. None of these boss battles are any fun. I would have much rather traded in all 6 of these adventures for one mega mission, where you fight a few Barons at a time, right? Like maybe you're chasing Uldren down on a Sparrow, or chasing him through some hallways, and you're hot on his tail, but the Barons keep popping in to try and stop you. But all of these adventures were a drag. When you finally do get to the final boss, you learn that Uldren had been corrupted the entire time, taken by this reversed prolapse that then eats him. And I'll admit that this ain't a bad boss fight. This is a pretty cool looking enemy, but he was still easy enough that I could kill him with a can of Coke Zero. But what else could they have done, really? Because if you think about it, fighting Uldren would most likely be a pretty lame fight. I mean, the guy doesn't look imposing at all. He has 0 intimidation factor whatsoever. So I think this was a good choice.
Is that it? Oh, I did it. A can of Coke?
And to top it all off, the Tangled Shore is easily the most boring location in the franchise from a visual standpoint. It's kinda miserable. I think it goes against Bungie's entire philosophy of creating worlds that players will want to keep coming back to. Because this place is just barren. But to my surprise, it gets better. Because while at first I really didn't enjoy this DLC, after a little while, much like my own penis, this thing grew on me. Okay, so I'm just gonna rapid fire through all of this stuff because there's a lot to go through. Now, as you all know, I have spent the last year criticizing Destiny 2, giving you guys the cold, hard truths about this game. And I'm very happy to say that nearly all of my criticisms from the past year have been addressed. First things first, it only took them 4 years, but they finally put the grimoire, the lore, in the game. And Random weapon rolls are back, baby, which means that getting your first edge transit is just as exciting as getting your 10th edge transit, and that's as exciting as getting your 100th edge transit. They've also gone ahead and gotten rid of all the garbage perks that Destiny 1 had, like guerrilla warfare. That thing was worthless. So the worst thing that can happen is that you just get a mediocre drop on a gun. And if you're not too pleased with your roll, but you really like the gun, you can just place a mod on the gun to make it fit your playstyle better. Armor perks have also made a return, thank God, and they're better than ever. You can tune your armor to cater towards whatever your favorite weapon class might be. Do you use a lot of pulse rifles and hate flinch as much as I do? Well then just equip a helmet with enhanced pulse rifle targeting and put on a chest piece that reduces flinch for all pulses. You can also add mods onto any armor piece to enhance them even more and allow you to create more builds to play around with. I'm really happy with how the perk system is right now. There's a lot of fine tuning that you can do, a lot of builds you can create, and there's a lot of fun to be had. The only thing that hasn't really been addressed is that the subclass options are still very limited, and are still a massive step down from what Destiny 1 had. I didn't really expect them to iterate on that, but it would have been really nice if they had. What I also did not expect was for Bungie to bring back that layer of mystery that made Destiny 1 so special. So I complained earlier about how bland the Tangled Shore is. Well, all of that is made up for in spades with the Dreaming City location. This place is easily my favorite locale in all of Destiny. When I first got here, I spent like 2 hours just exploring, just perusing around, taking in the scenery, and trying to figure out what everything did. Because this place doesn't hold your hand in any way. It just throws you into it and encourages you to figure everything out by yourself. And I love that. The Dreaming City is exactly what I want out of a Destiny locale. It shows you a place you've never imagined, and it's filled to the brim with mystery. And that's one of the main ingredients that made Destiny 1 so special to me. That cryptic mysticism, which helped everybody come together as a community so that we could all collectively figure out what was going on. And when Destiny 2 launched, it sacrificed mystery and several other things for accessibility. But now, the mystery is back, and it feels truly magical, especially since this place slightly changes week to week. It's got rotating weekly secrets, and after the very first group of people killed the final boss at the end of the raid, they actually altered the entire area and unlocked some new story missions, and even a strike. New content continues to trickle out as I make this video. So for all we know, maybe a month from now, Cade 6 could come back to life. I guess we'll find out. Moving along, exotic weapons are truly powerful now, and they feel like they're worth equipping and hunting down. The Ace of Spades and Chaperone are well worth the time it takes to get them. I'm not happy that they're putting old exotics back into the game. This is clearly a battle I'm losing, since it's going to keep on happening, but I think that the Ace of Spades is a shining example of how to bring an old exotic back, because the gun itself feels drastically different than it did in D1. It's much more fun and powerful now. I was using this thing in the Crucible and it got me so excited that I had to pop a Valakadin to calm me down. And this game does not shower you with exotics like it used to. Exotics are incredibly rare drops now, and that's how they should be. For the first time in 3 years, I actually gasped with excitement when I finally got an exotic to drop. So now, because exotics are incredibly rare, I'm incentivized to play the game more. And you'll keep coming back to the game anyway because there's a lot to keep you occupied here. I'm personally a big fan of the Triumph system. As somebody who was always trying to max out his grimoire back in the day, this type of thing is perfect for me. It even gives you random little achievements to go for that can change up how you might play a certain game type, or re-incentivize you to play a certain mission to complete a specific goal. That's the thing too, man. There is so much to do in this game now. There's so many things to work towards, whether it's grinding out some Triumph, or maybe you want to spend 3 days straight, 10 hours a day in the competitive playlist to get the Luna's Howl. A beauty of a weapon, just so that you can show it off in your YouTube review. But when I picked this gun up from Shaxx, I felt proud because I earned this gun. It took a lot of effort to get this thing. Not only is it a status symbol of sorts, but it's also a fantastic weapon. Woo-hoo-hoo! My point is, there's something to do for every Destiny player out there. Whether you're casual, or hardcore, like that cam girl I watch. You probably haven't heard of her, since she likes to keep her identity a secret, but her favorite season is the fall, so she calls herself Anonymous Autumn. She's very talented. The new strikes are pretty neat too. Easily the best 3 strikes in the game. Not that that means anything really, but these are actually pretty fun. The Fanatic strike is just okay. The boss has a few interesting moves up his sleeve, but that's about it. The Warden of Nothing strike, though, is really fun. I thoroughly enjoyed driving my pike and whizzing in between oncoming choo-choo trains. That's pretty fun stuff. But then the Corrupted strike? Oh baby, that's gotta be my all-time favorite. First of all, it's huge. The scale of it is massive. I mean, look at this thing. It almost feels like a mini raid. It's also got this little hot potato mechanic where you toss a ball back and forth to charge it up so that it does more damage when you throw it at the boss. It's got asteroids whizzing past the stage that you have to be careful of. The presentation here is astounding, but the best part about all of these strikes, none of them are recycled content. They finally did it. Was it really so hard? Now, I said in my Warmind review that for this game to be as good as Destiny 1, that Bungie would need to restructure it from the ground up, and that's pretty much what they did. The game does still need some work, but the new weapon system makes even the dreadful and boring Year 1 activities more fun to play. I gotta tell ya, I'm really surprised at how much fun I've been having with this game. Over the past 20 days, I've put well over 100 hours into the game, possibly 200, and I've been thoroughly enjoying myself. It's like grabbing a great big breastiny. But, you know, the game's not perfect. It's not all cherry tops, gumdrops, and lollipops, because there are still some issues that need to be inaugurally addressed. Firstly, the load times on console are horrific. It can take upwards of 2 minutes just to load up the freaking tower. Every playable space in the game can take anywhere from 1 minute to 5 minutes to load into. But you know, that gives me plenty of time to do some light reading and maybe catch up on some lore. Now I know that load times aren't an issue on PC, but a majority of the player base is here on console, where it's a major issue. And all the new supers are kind of underwhelming. Some of them seem like Bungie were just running out of ideas or recycling old Destiny 1 supers. Like Spectral Blades is a perfect example. That's just basically a copy and paste of the Arc Blades. And none of the supers are bad. I just found most of them to be lackluster. But the neutral game of each new subclass is what really changes things up. Like being able to charge your grenade for a one-hit kill in the Crucible feels amazing. Tossing a tiny little hammer at people to bonk them in the head, that looks fun. I can't wait to do that. But unlocking those supers is also pretty boring and grindy. I mean, if you want to get every super, you have to get lucky. The items that unlock the rest of the supers are tied to certain events in the game, like the Blind Well, which is not really where I like to spend my time, but not only do you have to level up to get to the Blind Well, but it's also a random drop within that event. I think this could have been streamlined a little bit more. And lastly, I can't believe this. One of the triumphs has a glaring typo on it. This is not okay, Bungie. I expect much better from you guys. Joseph Staten would not let this shit slide. What do you think, this is a Clean Prince gaming video, Bungie? Where you can just misspell words in the middle of an ad read? No! This is a AAA video game. And you gotta spell things correctly, okay, guys? I shouldn't have to be telling you this. A year ago, the Crucible of Destiny 2 was a coward-catering, team-shotting bore fest with skill-based matchmaking. And as a result of that, I quit playing very early on. But now, the Crucible is just incredibly ridiculous, and I absolutely love it. I have not had this much fun in the Crucible for maybe 3 years. I mean, look at me down there. I haven't smiled like that since I was a baby. It's just so much fun to wreak havoc on the enemy team, to pop a storm trance and just go nuts all over some little kids. If you ask me, video games don't get much better than this.
3 down! Look at them fall! I've seen enough. I'm calling this one.
It feels absolutely fantastic to be able to carry your team of 6 to victory and the Iron Banner. It feels amazing to be able to make so many plays, to make plans in your head, and act them out and dominate the other team. It's got that thrill factor back that I used to love from Destiny 1, where you can push into 6 enemies with a shotgun and destroy every single one of them if you know what you're doing. But of course, somebody on the other team can do the very same to you and shut you down at any moment. So essentially what Bungie has done was undo almost all the nerfs they've made since Destiny 1. So pretty much everything in the game feels like it's been dialed up to 11. Except for sticky grenades, those still won't one-shot people, which is for the best, but almost every weapon in the game feels incredibly powerful. Snipers feel a little bit sluggish and auto rifles are just okay. You can still do well with them, but apart from that, everything is fair game. I honestly think that this is the best meta Destiny has ever had, because usually within one season of Destiny, you have one dominant archetype of weapon. When the Taken King launched, it was just pulse rifles. They were insanely powerful. In vanilla Destiny 1, it was auto rifles. And at the end of Rise of Iron, it was sidearms, and you get the picture. But right now, you can do well with just about anything. I mean, I had a 55 kill match the other day using a 4-burst pulse rifle and a 2-burst sidearm. You can pretty much use whatever you're comfortable with to excel in the Crucible. And yeah, I'll be the first to admit that the sandbox isn't completely balanced, but I will take fun gameplay over balanced gameplay any day of the week. I mean, even the competitive game type is fun now, since you can make multiple game-changing plays in there. Clutching out a 1v4 is much more doable now than it used to be. I've even gone into competitive as a solo player, and I've done okay. I won a lot more games than I thought I would, which last season really wasn't even possible. But as much as I love the Crucible, it's got a lot of problems that need to be fixed. The netcode is absolutely terrible. It's gotta be one of the worst I've experienced from a AAA game. And it's so inconsistent. Sometimes your shots simply just won't register. Sometimes you'll get killed by a guy whose character model hasn't even completely loaded in yet. Sometimes you'll land a perfect grenade launcher shot and the guy survives it when he shouldn't. Sometimes your melee should track onto somebody, but doesn't. And sometimes, actually all the time, you're gonna get shot through walls because of desync. Now I know Destiny 1 had its fair share of netcode issues, but hot damn, it was never this bad. I get hit through a wall pretty much once every match, at the bare minimum. And that's not an exaggeration. Nothing's wrong with my connection. As you can see here, I actually have pretty fast speeds. The footage you're seeing right now speaks for itself. Unless there's something out there I don't know about that I can fix, let me know in the comments. But on top of poor netcode, the maps and spawns also need some serious reworking, because you gotta keep in mind that a lot of these maps were designed for 4v4 game types, not 6v6 like we have now. So as a result, the maps can feel very crowded at times. It's nearly impossible to scope a lane without being shoved aside by a teammate, or without having a teammate run in front of you to absorb a bunch of shots for the enemy team. And as if that's not enough fun, sometimes after you die, the game will spawn you right in front of an enemy with a super. And this is a relatively normal occurrence, and it's something that shouldn't ever be happening. Now you'd think the spawns would be a lot better in Rumble, since that playlist only has a maximum of 6 players, but somehow they still manage to spawn you right next to other people, feet away from the guy. Look at this. The spawns need to be fixed. This is inexcusable, especially coming from Bungie, the guys that made Halo. And now, I'll be honest with you, just talking to you about all this stuff right now is pissing me off. Destiny has always pissed me off, but despite all the garbage that can go wrong in a game of Crucible, I still have so much fun. If this game had dedicated servers, my God, we would have something incredible on our hands. But Bungie, baby, if you happen to be watching this video right now, please, for the love of God, listen to me. Right now, the Crucible is so enjoyable because skill-based matchmaking is turned off. If you ever turn it back on, these issues are only going to get worse, just like they did in Destiny 1. And that's going to turn people away from your game. It'll turn me away for sure, because I cannot go through all that skill-based matchmaking crap again. That's what the competitive playlist is for, skill-based matches. So please, please, just leave it like it is, okay? And then I gotta talk about Gambit, which I honestly think is just okay. And most people seem to think I'm crazy when I say that, but I think that after the honeymoon phase of Gambit wears off, people will come around to my point of view. Because while Gambit isn't bad, I think it's just lacking a couple of extra mechanics. An extra little oomph to really send it home. Because the concept of it is great. You and a competing team essentially have to summon and kill a strike boss, right? But the twist is, you can invade each other Dark Souls style and impede the other team's progress by killing them. And let me tell you, invading the enemy side and wiping them all out to secure a win for your team feels incredible. I mean, I've pulled off some miracles in Gambit and I've had some great times. But on the flip side of that, there's the whole PvE aspect of the game type, which I find to be kind of lacking. Mindlessly killing ads and collecting motes and banking them can get really monotonous. And sure, there is a bit of strategy involved as to when you should or shouldn't bank motes and when you should or shouldn't invade, but after about 20 matches, I felt like I'd experienced everything Gambit had to offer. But I do think I have a little idea that could spice up the game type a little bit. So hear me out, Bungie. Listen to this. You're gonna love this. So imagine you've got 15 motes, but you get invaded. What if you had the choice to either bank all those motes as you would now, or what if you could use all 15 of those motes to turn every enemy AI in the room against the invader? To me, that sounds pretty cool. I think a mechanic like that would allow for a lot of additional decision making and would also make invading other teams a lot more tense. Because as it is now, I think Gambit is just kinda plain. If you love the PvE and think that PvP is just okay, you'll probably love Gambit. But there was still something about this game type that just didn't sit well with me, that I couldn't quite put my finger on. And I had a conversation with Cammy Cakes the other day, and he said something while we were talking that just really hit the nail on the head.
I'll tell you why you don't like Gambit. It's because winning is a disadvantage.
Oh, okay.
If you are losing, you get so many benefits. So there becomes a point where instead of banking for a primeval and just getting them out instantly, it is much better for every person to start saving 15 motes apiece. Then your loser enemies will invade for the last time. That's their third and final invade. You kill the invader, and then all of you throw your ogres at the same time once they summon their primeval. So now, since they summon first, you get the loser advantages. That's how to put yourself in the advantage of a stupid system. I'm not going to call it a stupid system. I see where they were going with it, but it just isn't fun for people trying to win.
It also doesn't help that the frame rate drops quite often when you get surrounded by enemies on console, and getting shot through walls isn't exclusive to just the Crucible, and sometimes when people invade you, they spawn in directly behind you. I've had invaders spawn behind me multiple times. We have this gigantic playable space, and you spawn the guy right behind me. I mean, how is that fair? How is that fun? But all in all, Gambit is just fleeting entertainment. It's at its best when you've got a group of good players together who communicate really well with each other, but playing it by yourself can really be a nightmare. And now before moving on, I tried my absolute best to get a raid group together to do the raid, but since all of my real life friends quit playing this game a year ago, I had to resort to using LFG again. And over the past 4 years of playing Destiny, I have only had a handful of good experiences using LFG. I spent an hour searching for a team the other day, only to have them kick me out of their party and removed from the game because I didn't want to do some glitch that they had been failing to execute for over an hour. And I simply just don't have the time to spend 5 hours or even an entire day failing an encounter over and over like I used to. I need a decent team to go through it with me. I'm not asking for gods, but I really want to do that raid. So if any of you guys are up for it, you know, I'm on Xbox, so please, by all means, feel free to message me because I really want that exotic. I want it real bad. So I tried my best to give you guys the full picture with this video, both the good and the bad this game has to offer. I often used to say that Destiny was the shittiest game I ever loved, and that sentiment still holds true today. But over the course of the past few weeks, I have had a ton of fun. The game has never felt better, and for the first time in Destiny 2's history, I have willingly logged onto the game to play it for fun, and for some of the time I've actually even enjoyed the grind. And best of all, I have organically made some new friends through just random matchmaking. These were all things that didn't happen once throughout the entire first year of Destiny 2. This game is actually really close to being as good as D1 was in its prime. This DLC really blew me away. I didn't think it would be possible for them to turn it around like they did, but they did, and I'm glad to be wrong about that. And to be honest with you guys, I think I love Destiny again. But with that being said, I don't think I can outright recommend this game to anybody, because over the past year, Bungie has put us through so much. They've pulled all sorts of shady business practices on us with the Curse of Osiris, and then if you want to play Forsaken, you need to buy the Curse of Osiris and Warmind. Otherwise, you can't even access Forsaken, which is pretty Forsickening if you ask me. Forsaken should have had the other 2 DLCs bundled in with it. I think it's the least they could have done after what they put people through this past year. And let's not forget that they've botched both Destiny games on launch. And I hope to God that I'm wrong about this, but what worries me is that the cycle will continue, that history is going to repeat itself, because Bungie is made up of several different teams. And right now, the team that made Vanilla Destiny 2, the worst version of Destiny we've experienced to date, is out there right now as we speak, making Destiny 3. So who's to say they're not going to mess it up again a third time, and then just rely on the live team to swoop back in again and steer the giant boat back on course? Right, mate? All kidding aside, I really like the direction Destiny is headed right now, but I can't help but wonder, what if Destiny 2 had launched in this state, with a decent amount of content and fun gameplay? Imagine where we would be right now. When D2 launched, we lost 3 years of progress. And I get that some of you might be willing to forgive Bungie for what they've done, but I don't think I'm able to yet. That's a ways off for me. And I'm not going to tell you guys that you shouldn't buy this game, but I'm also not going to tell you guys that you should buy it either. I think you guys can make up your own mind about that. And I feel so conflicted about this game right now, because there's a lot that I like. This DLC has rekindled my passion for the franchise, but again, in classic Destiny fashion, there's still so much room for improvement. And we're wrapping up here, so before I move on to the punishment, I have to address something. I owe some of you guys an explanation, because back in December, when I made my Curse of Osiris video, I said that I was completely done with Destiny, and in that moment, I truly meant that. I was very upset. It was really tough seeing a franchise that I once loved stoop so low, to the point where it was unrecognizable. But there's just something about this franchise that I can't quite put my finger on. You know, kind of like a clitoris. Destiny seems to attack a certain part of my brain and that I just can't resist. There's a magic to it that I can't explain. At the end of the day, I think I'll always love this franchise, and I hate myself because of it. But that's all I gotta say about Destiny for now. I tried to get this video out as quick as I could. Skill Up, that hack, beat me to it. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I gotta give a big thanks to Cammy Cakes. I've been watching him for years, and talking to him the other day was really nice. I had originally planned out a bit for him to do, but it really didn't work. So he and I just wound up talking to each other for 2 hours, and I got a couple of really good quotes from him. But he's honestly a great guy, so make sure you go check him out. He mainly does Destiny commentaries, and he also does some informational videos, but he injects a lot of humor and personality into them, and he is genuinely my favorite Destiny YouTuber. Also, real quick, I'm looking for somebody to moderate my clan. Message me if you're willing to do this. My gamer tag is Ren's Reviews. Also, right now over on my Twitter, I'm doing a poll for you guys to vote on what video I should make next, so go follow me there, because I will also update you guys on my thoughts on all the new Destiny content as it trickles out. But until then, enjoy my suffering. Now, first of all, I gotta admit I'm a little disappointed. I asked a lot of you to come up with some challenges, and a lot of you guys, I'm looking for a challenge that's gonna be fun to watch, and also be punishing to me. And you're telling me stuff like delete everything from your vault, or play Destiny 2. And while that is a punishment in a way, it's not fun to watch. I could delete everything in my vault, who cares? So somebody suggested that I drink an entire bottle of Tabasco, but that's child's play, right? That's easy. So what would be more embarrassing or challenging than drinking it live in public? So we're here at a McDonald's, and we're gonna do exactly that. You ready? Say yes. Good job.
Yes.
Who doesn't love a little Tabasco, right? It's a American classic. All right, here we go. Here we go. Okay,
It's good, right?
this was a mistake.
I thought you liked it.
It's truly terrible. Okay, one more. I can't do anymore. Last one. For Cade. No! No more predictions. Okay, I can't do it.
We'll do one on the road.
You win this time, Bungie.
It wasn't that bad.
It's terrible. What?
It's like a dog next to me ate jalapeno.
I'm gonna go with spicy stuff. Stop the video. I'll see you guys later. I'll see you guys next time. Cut.